deep did you dive into the world of Stephen King for this show?
Well, I already had dove. I already was in it. Yeah, I had already divin. I was a fan of Stephen King's from too early. Like I was probably 10 when I started reading his books, so I felt pretty well versed. I didn't do any extra reading for the show, but I already loved his stuff.
Can you tell us about your character for those at the table who may not have seen the few episodes?
Sure. She's a very complicated person. She is a real estate agent, but she's chosen to do this in a town where nobody's buying real estate. Nobody wants to live there anymore, so it's a horrible job to have chosen. She feels a lot of responsibility, I think, to the town. She has a complicated history that is making her feel like she needs to stay there and better it in some ways. And she also has an involvement with Henry Deaver that kind of unfolds over the season. You find out why she's so impacted when she sees him again.
Almost everything that Stephen King writes gets adapted. Why do you think Hollywood has such an obsession with him or loves him so much? What is it about his stories that...
Well, the concepts are always great. I think it's something that you hear about it and you're like, I want to see what that is. It's a, really smart, creepy, sort of visceral horror or thriller story. And he's very, very good at creating those stories. But I think the reason his work has stood the test of time and so many great actors want to be involved and people want to keep adapting it is the characters. The characters are so strong and interesting and there's so much to play, and that's the thing. When you look back at his body of work, the adaptations, I remember the performances and I remember the characters, and often a lot of the female characters, which is a pretty wonderful, Annie Wilkes and Carrie and so many iconic women. I think that's part of it.
What did you find so strong and interesting about your character?
I really like the idea of somebody who's developed a set of coping mechanisms that are just not working, but she just keeps doing it. She keeps waking up every day and making the same choices and behaving like it's working out when all the evidence points to no, it's not. And I was just kind of fascinated to investigate that person.
Episode 3 is a particularly big one for your character. How much of that backstory did you actually know when you took the role?
Episode what?
Episode 3 is a particularly big one for your character.
Oh, yeah.
How much of the backstory did you know before you took the role? How much of it was discovering anything that actually served?
Well, because the first couple of episodes are kind of light on Molly, she's just kind of a mysterious presence, and you're like, what's up with her? She's very weird. So they explained all of episode 3 to me before I took it, because I definitely was interested, but I also was kind of like, I just needed to know a little bit more. So I knew all of that, and then I was like, that sounds great. Yeah.
You've worked with Peter Jackson and the Duplass brothers and a group of people like that. What I want to ask you is, as an actress, are the navigational hazards more complex when you're in an environment with a really deeply authored work? The idea that this is very much defined by Stephen King's vision. Does this feel very deeply authored, and is it similar in a way to how you have to navigate the specifics of the Duplasses or of Peter Jackson, or an environment where a writer has a particularly loud voice?
That's such a good question. I mean, it's interesting because while the show is very inspired by and does incorporate a lot of characters and ideas, and definitely obviously the town from his work, it didn't feel like a Stephen King property. It felt like Dusty and Sam's show and Dusty and Sam's writing and the other writers, and they were so collaborative, and it really was a kind of work in progress where the scripts would come in and Bill and Andre and I would talk about it, read it out loud, get a conference room and hash it out and call them So it was a very, very collaborative process. But honestly, the thing that I found is all very successful creators are collaborative. Like Peter is so... That was my first working experience, and I really got spoiled. I thought everybody was like Peter Jackson. I was like, directors are great, and as it turns out, some of them are not that great. But he really, you know, after work every day, he would show the rushes of the previous day to the whole cast and crew. He'd take notes from everybody, and I mean, that was how I learned. So I found my voice very early on, and I'm not good in situations where I don't get to use it.
So you guys made a debut at New York Comic Con.
Yeah.
It was a very soft debut, and now we're here at San Diego, like the big mecca. What has it been like for you to watch the fandom and excitement that people have for the show? I mean, some of us have obviously seen the first 4 episodes, but the fans have not, and yet they're still so excited.
I mean, it's a lot easier now because there's something to back it up.
Yeah.
I think New York Comic Con felt a little premature to all of us.
Right.
And it just mostly was sitting on a stage while people were like, Belle, you know, and I understand. I feel the same. But it's a lot better to be here with the whole season behind us and knowing what we did and knowing what we have to talk about.
And because this is the mecca of nerd culture, what is it that you nerd out about personally?
I nerd out about actresses. I really do. I nerd out about Isabelle Huppert and Viola Davis and Regina Hall. I'm a huge nerd about Andrea Riseborough. I just watched this thing called National Treasure. That's a British miniseries that Andrea Riseborough is in the first season of, and she's amazing. That episode of Black Mirror she did. Talk about Andrea Riseborough all day. I won't. But.
Did you get any pointers directly from Stephen King?
No. That's a short answer. No.
You didn't talk to him or anything like that?
No. I think he kind of gave his blessing. Dusty and Sam, and I'm sure JJ talked to him, but he wasn't really... I'm not going to be like, can I call Stephen King about this? You know, if he wants to be there, he'll be there.
You mentioned the coping mechanisms, and I'm curious with your character, is that pointing to a deeper issue of addiction, if this is something that it is?
Yeah. I think that she doesn't feel like she has an addiction, but if you're taking something every day in order to get through the day, then you're addicted, you know. And she's very defensive about it, but at the same time she's living in this kind of shameful place where she has a teenage drug dealer who she has to seek out at his high school. It's not ideal. There's a better way to deal with it, you know. Okay, bye, thank you.
I'm telling you.